The first sign something was wrong came at 3:30 a.m. Marcus was restocking energy drinks when every light in the store flickered. Not unusual during storm season, except the sky was clear. Dead calm, the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. He walked to the front counter and glanced at the security monitors. Empty parking lot. One streetlight casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt. The highway stretched into darkness in both directions. Normal Tuesday night in the middle of nowhere. Then he heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, like someone walking through thick mud. Marcus looked up from his phone to see a figure approaching the glass doors. Tall man in a brown jacket, head down, hands in his pockets. The motion sensor triggered, and the doors slid open with their familiar whoosh. The man stepped inside. That's when Marcus noticed the smell. Sweet and rotten, like fruit left in a hot car for weeks. The man moved toward the back of the store, past the beer coolers, past the snack aisles. His footsteps made no sound on the tile floor. Marcus watched him disappear around the corner toward the restrooms. The smell lingered, growing stronger. 5 minutes passed, 10, 15. No one takes 15 minutes in a gas station bathroom. Marcus grabbed his keys and walked to the back of the store. The men's room door was open, empty. The women's room too. He checked the storage area, the office, even the walk-in cooler. Nothing. The man had vanished. Marcus returned to the counter, confused but not yet afraid. Maybe the guy had slipped out while he wasn't looking. People did weird things at night. But the smell remained, getting worse. At 3:47 a.m., the doors opened again. Same man, same brown jacket, same slow, deliberate walk. But this time, Marcus was watching closely. The man's face was pale, too pale. His lips were blue-gray, like someone who had been underwater too long. His eyes were open, staring straight ahead, but they didn't blink. The man walked the exact same path, past the beer coolers, past the snacks, toward the restrooms. Marcus counted his steps, exactly 43. This time, Marcus followed immediately. He rounded the corner just as the man entered the bathroom. The door was swinging shut when Marcus grabbed it. Empty again. But now he noticed something else. Wet footprints on the tile floor. Not water. Something darker. Something that looked like mud mixed with oil. Marcus backed away, his heart pounding. He pulled out his phone to call the police, but there was no signal. The landline was dead too. Even the radio in the office produced nothing but static. He was alone. The pattern repeated 4 more times throughout the night. 4:23 a.m., 4:59 a.m., 5:35 a.m., 6:11 a.m. Always the same man, always the same walk, always disappearing into the bathroom that was never occupied. By the 4th visit, Marcus could see through the man's skin, veins like black rivers beneath gray flesh. By the 5th, he could smell death rolling off him in waves. The man's mouth hung open now, revealing teeth stained dark brown. His eyes had turned completely white, but the worst part was the sound. A wet, raspy breathing that came from somewhere deep in his chest, like air passing through water, through something that should have been solid. At 6:11 a.m., the man stopped at the counter instead of walking to the back. He stood there, swaying slightly, his white eyes fixed on Marcus. Up close, Marcus could see the jacket was torn, shredded, like something had clawed through it. Through the holes, he glimpsed wounds that looked weeks old. The man opened his mouth. Black liquid dripped onto the counter. He spoke in a voice like grinding glass. "Where is she?" Marcus couldn't move, couldn't speak. The smell was overwhelming now. The man leaned closer, his breath cold against Marcus's face. "Where is she?" he repeated. The lights flickered. The register display went dark. Even the security cameras shut down. In the darkness, Marcus heard that wet breathing getting closer. He felt fingers, cold and soft like meat left in a freezer, brush against his cheek. When the power returned 30 seconds later, the man was gone. But on the counter, written in that same black liquid, were the words, "Sarah Murphy, 1987. Marcus quit that morning. He never found out who Sarah Murphy was or what happened to her in 1987. But he learned something else when he reviewed the security footage. The cameras showed him working alone all night, talking to empty air, walking to an empty bathroom, standing at the counter, staring at nothing. For 6 hours, he had been completely alone. The footage showed no man in a brown jacket, no wet footprints, no flickering lights. Just Marcus, growing more terrified of something that wasn't there. But the black stain on the counter was real. The smell in the store took 3 days to fade, and when the new night shift worker started the following week, she found something interesting. The first time Jenny saw pump 4 activate by itself, she thought it was a malfunction. 12:43 a.m. on a Wednesday, she was cleaning the coffee machine when she heard the familiar click and whir of a pump starting up. Through the window, she could see the digital display climbing, $23.47, $31.52, $45.89. But no one was there. Jenny walked outside into the cold October air. Pump 4 was running, the hose hanging in its cradle, the nozzle pointing at empty concrete. The numbers kept climbing. $67.23, $78.91, $89.44. She pressed the emergency stop button. The pump shut off at $94.67, exactly 23.4 gallons according to the display. But there was no puddle of gas on the ground, no smell of fuel, nothing. Jenny called her manager, Rick, who told her to reset the system and file a maintenance report. "Old pumps do weird things," he said. "Don't worry about it." But it happened again the next night. Same pump, same time. This time, Jenny watched from inside as the numbers climbed past $100. The pump ran for exactly 17 minutes, then stopped on its own. 31.7 gallons. No gas on the ground. By the third night, Jenny was ready. She had her phone out, recording everything. At 12:43 a.m., pump 4 came alive. But this time she noticed something else. The security camera mounted above the pump was moving, slowly panning left to right, like it was following something she couldn't see. Jenny zoomed in on her phone screen. Through the grainy night vision, she could make out a shape next to the pump. Tall, thin, moving like it was filling up a car that wasn't there. The shape moved around to what would be the driver's side door. It stood there for a moment, then walked toward the store. Jenny's heart hammered as she watched her own security monitor. The camera showed the parking lot empty, but on her phone she could see the shape approaching the doors. The motion sensor triggered. The doors slid open. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of gasoline and something else. Something burnt, like rubber and metal and flesh all melted together. Jenny stood frozen behind the counter as invisible footsteps crossed the tile floor. The refrigerated drink cooler opened by itself. A Coke can lifted into the air, floated to the counter, and was placed gently next to the register. The cash drawer opened with a ding. A $20 bill appeared on the counter, crisp and new, except for the dark stains along the edges. Jenny's hands shook as she made change. She placed the bills on the counter and watched them disappear, one by one. The Coke can lifted again, tilted in the air as if someone was drinking from it, then floated back to the cooler. The footsteps headed for the door. The motion sensor triggered again. The doors opened and closed. On her phone, Jenny watched the shape return to pump 4, hang up the invisible hose. She heard an engine start. Not the smooth purr of a modern car, but the rough idle of something old. Something that had been running too long. The sound faded down the highway, heading east toward the state line. Jenny checked the register. The sale was logged automatically. 1 Coke, $1.29. Paid with a 20. Change given, $18.71. The next morning, she researched the station's history. What she found made her stomach turn. In 1987, a family of 4 had stopped at Pump 4. The Hendersons. Dad, Mom, 2 kids. They were driving to Chicago for a wedding. It was their last stop before crossing into Illinois. The car caught fire while they were pumping gas. An electrical short in the fuel system. The pump kept running, feeding the flames. By the time the fire department arrived, the family was dead. The car was a melted shell. The pump was destroyed. But here's what the accident report didn't mention. What Jenny found buried in local newspaper archives. The pump had been malfunctioning for weeks before the accident. It would activate by itself, dispense fuel into empty air. The owner had called for repairs multiple times, but the company kept saying they'd get to it. They never did. Jenny quit after reading that report, but she couldn't stop thinking about the $20 bill, about the dark stains on the edges. She kept the security footage from that night, even though it showed nothing but empty parking lot. But when she enhanced the audio, she heard something that made her never want to drive past another gas station again. Under the sound of the pump running, under the electronic beeping of the register, there was something else. Voices, faint but clear enough to understand. A man's voice. Fill it up, regular. A woman's voice. Can you grab me a Coke, honey? A child's voice. Are we almost there, Daddy? Another child. I'm thirsty. The same conversation, playing over and over, for 17 minutes, every night. Jenny moved to a different state, got a job at a bank, tried to forget. But 6 months later, she was driving through Indiana when she stopped for gas. Different station, different company. But as she was pumping fuel, she noticed something. The pump next to her was running. No one was using it. The numbers were climbing. $23.47, $31.52, $45.89. She looked around the parking lot, empty except for her car. But the security camera above the pump was moving, slowly panning left to right, like it was following something. Jenny got in her car and drove away, leaving the pump running. As she pulled onto the highway, she heard an engine start behind her. Not the smooth purr of a modern car, but the rough idle of something old, something that had been running too long. The first sign something was wrong came 3 weeks before Tom found the finger. Customers started complaining about the smell. Not just bad, horrifying, like something rotting in the walls. Tom's manager, Dale, called exterminators. They found nothing. No dead animals, no sewage problems. Just that smell, getting stronger every night. Then the hot dogs started disappearing. Tom would stock the roller with fresh ones before his shift, but by morning, half were gone. No sales logged, no wrappers in the trash, just empty spots on the roller, like something had taken them during the night. Tom set up a camera pointing at the food area. What he saw made him sick. At 3:33 a.m. every night, the hot dogs would sink into the roller. Not fall off, sink, like something underneath was pulling them down through the metal. But the night Tom found the finger changed everything. He was restocking energy drinks when he heard a wet slapping sound from the food area. The roller was turning, but instead of hot dogs, there was something else spinning slowly under the heat lamps. Tom's stomach turned as he recognized what it was. A human finger, index finger, cut clean at the knuckle. The nail was painted red. Fresh blood dripped onto the metal roller. Tom grabbed his phone to call 911, but before he could dial, he heard that slapping sound again. 3 more fingers had appeared. Middle finger, ring finger, pinky, all from the same hand, all twitching like they were still alive. Tom ran to the front door, but it wouldn't open. Electronic locks engaged. The lights flickered off, leaving only the glow from the food area. In that red light, Tom watched the fingers move. They weren't just twitching anymore. They were crawling, trying to get away from the roller. That's when he heard the voice, from somewhere below the floor. A woman's voice, weak and broken. "Please, help me." Tom grabbed a flashlight and found the basement door behind the office. It was unlocked. The smell hit him like a physical force as he descended the wooden steps. Rot and waste and something else. Something metallic, like copper pennies and rust. The basement was bigger than it should have been. Much bigger. It stretched back into darkness, far beyond the footprint of the store above. Tom's flashlight beam revealed concrete walls stained with something dark. The floor was covered in what looked like sawdust, but when Tom knelt down, he realized it was bone meal, ground-up bones mixed with dried blood. He followed the sound of whimpering deeper into the basement, past rusted machinery, past tables covered with tools he didn't want to identify, past hooks hanging from the ceiling, some still occupied. In the far corner, Tom found her, a woman chained to the wall. She was missing her left hand. Fresh bandages covered the stump, but blood was seeping through. Her eyes were wild with pain and terror. How long have you been here? Tom whispered. I don't know, she sobbed. Days, weeks. He takes pieces, little pieces. Says he's keeping me fresh for the customers upstairs. Tom's blood froze. Customers? The meat, she whispered. In the hot dogs, in the burgers. He grinds us up and feeds us to people. He's been doing it for years. Tom heard footsteps on the stairs above, heavy boots, slow and deliberate. A man's voice called down, Tom, you down there, boy? Dale, his manager. Tom clicked off the flashlight and crouched in the darkness. The woman grabbed his arm with her remaining hand. There are others, she whispered. In the freezer. He keeps parts of us. Saves the best pieces for special customers, the ones who know what they're really buying. The footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs. A flashlight beam swept across the basement. I know you're down here, Tom. Shouldn't have gone looking where you don't belong. Tom helped the woman up. She could barely walk, but they moved deeper into the basement. The flashlight beam followed, getting closer. Tom's own light revealed something that made him gag. An industrial meat grinder, still running, still processing something that looked too pink, too fresh to be beef. You see, Tom, Dale's voice echoed through the basement. People stop here from all over the country. Travelers, drifters, people nobody misses. And folks get hungry on long drives. Real hungry. Sometimes they want something special. Tom found a back exit, an old coal chute that led to the parking lot. He helped the woman climb up, then followed. Behind them, Dale's laughter echoed through the basement. They made it to Tom's car. The woman was fading fast, losing too much blood. Tom drove toward town, toward the hospital, but every gas station they passed was lit up, open, waiting for customers. How many? Tom asked. All of them, she whispered. Every station on this highway. They're all connected, all part of the same operation. The basement tunnels connect them all. Tom looked in his rearview mirror. Headlights were following them, getting closer. The woman's breathing was getting shallow. The hot dogs, she said. Today's special. That was my sister. She's been missing for 3 weeks. Tom's stomach lurched. He'd eaten one of those hot dogs during his break. The taste of meat and grease suddenly made sense. Human meat, human grease. The headlights were right behind them now. Tom could see Dale's face in the driver's seat, smiling, patient, like he'd done this before. He won't let us leave, the woman said. No one leaves. We become part of the menu eventually. Tom's car sputtered. The gas gauge showed empty, but he'd filled up at the station. Dale had drained his tank. Tom pulled over as the engine died. Dale's truck stopped behind them. The woman was unconscious now, maybe dead. Tom got out and ran into the woods, but the trees were too thin, no cover. He could hear Dale following, whistling a tune Tom recognized from the store's radio.